Hey, Grand Rapids, did you know home prices are up another 8% year over year? Welcome to the Grand Rapids, Michigan, Kent County residential real estate market update with data through July 2020. My name is Rodney Constable. I'm a realtor with Century 21 affiliated out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Year over year, home prices are up 8% in the Grand Rapids area, with the average home selling for $265,187. 1 year ago, the average home was selling for $245,566. The average home is selling after being on the market for just 21 days. When we compare that to the inventory of unsold homes, those homes have been on the market for an average of 73 days. What these two data points tell us is that if a home is properly priced, it will sell in a relatively short period of time, right now in about 3 weeks. However, if a home is not properly priced for its location, condition, and amenities, that home will stay on the market for an extended period of time, right now just under 3 months. Next, let's take a look at year-to-date new listings versus the same period 1 year ago. Now, in this category, we are down 11.2% year over year. When we look at the data in a numerical format, what we can see is that for the first 7 months of 2020, there's been 6,339 listings that have come to market in Kent County. Now, we're down 801 listings versus the same period in 2019. And when we compare where we're at so far for 2020 versus where we were in 2016, what we can see is that we're down 1,201 listings. That's 15.93% fewer listings that have come to market so far this year than what we had in the first 7 months of 2016. And furthermore, let's start at 2016 and work our way up the chart here. So we can see that in 2016, for the first 7 months of the year, there was 7,540 listings. When we go to 2017 and then 2018, we can see that year over year, the number of listings are dropping. Now, when we go to 2019, we did pick up about 47 listings for the first 7 months versus where we were in 2018. But the point is, you can see that we've had a continuous downtrend in the number of listings coming to market over the last 5 years. And obviously, with what's happened with the coronavirus, that has really impacted us here in 2020. So we will have to see in 2021 what happens. But you can see that the trend is that year over year, we're having fewer and fewer homes that are being listed in the Kent County area, which is continuing to tighten up the inventory, and we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. Next, let's take a look at the year-to-date closed transactions. So these are homes that have actually sold, residential homes that have actually sold in Kent County. And you can see here that we're down 7.7%. So we've had 7.7% fewer closings so far for the first 7 months of this year than what we had in 2019. And when we look at this data in a numerical format, what we can see is that so far for the first 7 months of the year, there's been 4,765 listings that have closed in the Grand Rapids area in Kent County, and that's down 399 versus where we were in 2019, and we can see that we're down almost 1,000, down 964 closings for the first 7 months of 2020 versus what we had for the first 7 months of 2016. That is 16.83% fewer closings in 2020 than what we saw back in 2016. And then again, just to get the idea of what's been happening from a trend standpoint, let's take a look here. In 2016, you can see that we had over 5,700 closings, and then in 2017 it went to 5,377, then down to 5,206 in 2018, down to 5,164 in 2019, and then 4,765 this year. So you can see that over the last 5 years, again, basically what's happening is we're having fewer listings coming to the market. We're having fewer sales coming to the market. So this is really impacting a lot of people's ability to buy a home, and that'll make even more sense as we go through the balance of this presentation. Now let's take a look at the major real estate input costs. So I want you to think about this because a lot of people, I believe, are holding off on buying a house or upgrading or whatever because they think housing prices are going to fall, potentially because of the coronavirus or for whatever reason. But guys, I don't think, what we're seeing, housing prices are up 8% year over year, right? And here we are still in the midst of the coronavirus, and yet we're seeing an 8% increase in the cost of housing in Kent County, in Grand Rapids, over the last 12 months. So when we think about the major input costs to real estate, there's land, labor, materials, and regulatory costs, and then financing costs. But let's talk about those first four. Do we really think that costs of land are going to go down anytime soon? No. What about labor? Nope. Labor costs aren't going to go down. What about materials? Nope. Those costs are not likely to fall. Regulatory costs? There's no way. Every year it gets harder and harder for the builders to hit all of the regulatory and the checklist and jump through all the hoops that regulators place upon them to build new homes. So land, labor, materials, and regulatory costs are more than likely going to continue to go up most years, year over year over year over year. Those inputs right there will continue to drive up the cost of a house. Now, the only thing, the last point here, the financing costs, the only input cost that has fallen over really history of real estate over the last 20, 30, 40 years has been the financing costs. As interest rates have come down, that has driven the cost of money down. Okay. And guys, for those of you that don't know my background, I have an extensive, not only do I have an extensive real estate background, but I have an extensive background in financial services. I used to be a financial advisor. Prior to that, I was a vice president of a major mutual fund company. So I was in financial services for several decades before I got into real estate. And real estate, of course, is kind of my family business, okay? So this is something that I've been doing for a while now, and it's been in my family. I've been around this since I was a kid, all right? So I just want you to understand that when you're thinking about, oh, what's this guy know about, financing costs, this is what I do, okay? So just understand that financing cost, the cost of money, has come down as the yield on the 10-year treasury has fallen, right? The 30-year mortgage to a large degree is benchmarked against the 10-year treasury yield. And as the 10-year treasury yield has fallen and fallen and fallen over the last, really since the early 80s, we are now seeing historically low 30-year mortgage rates. It's never been cheaper to get a loan for a house. As we can see here, the current mortgage rates right now, as I'm making this recording in August of 2020, the current mortgage rates for 30-year mortgages for most people, right? Because a lot of that depends on how much you're going to put down and what your FICO scores are. But for many, if not most buyers, you can get a 30-year mortgage now for under 3%. Guys, we've never, ever seen this before, ever. Okay, so it's never been cheaper from a financing standpoint to buy a home. So if you are considering buying a home, please don't wait, because as we can see, land, labor, materials, and regulatory costs are probably going to continue to go up. And if you've been following what's been going on with and this again kind of reflects back to my background in finance, but if you are paying attention to what's going on with the coronavirus and what the government has done to keep the economy supported while we've got much of the economy shut down, they've printed a lot of money. So what this means is there's probably going to be some inflation. And I think one of the major areas where we're going to continue to see inflation is with housing. And not only that, and in my lifetime, guys, and I'm not that old, but in my lifetime, and I've got another whole video that I'm going to tee up after this one that talks even more about this. But think about this. In my lifetime, the world population is more than doubled. So you've got more than twice as many people competing for the same area of land, right, on the globe. So in other words, there's no more land being made, but yet we've got twice as many people that need to live on this planet than what the amount of people that were there when I was born. So guys, this is real economic stuff we have to think about here, okay? So you've got land, labor, materials, and regulatory costs going up. The only thing that's going down is financing costs. So if you're waiting for housing to crash like it did in 08 or whatever before you buy a house, guys, I'm here to tell you it ain't going to happen, okay? Because in 2007, 2008, the real estate market was the problem. The real estate market is not a problem. I am not saying that parts of the real estate market can't pull back, but it does not appear that there's going to be a major sell-off in the real estate market anytime soon. We've got millennials, which again I'll talk about more in the next video that I'm going to tee up after this one, but we've got millennials that are in prime home buying age now. The average home buyer is about 31 to 33 years old, so early 30s. The oldest millennial is still in their 30s. The youngest millennial is a teenager. So we've got about a 20-year span of people that are getting out of college, getting jobs, starting families, buying houses. All right, there's a lot of demand for housing. In finance, we say demographics are destiny. You've got demographics in your favor, right? So you've got this huge amount of people, 75 to 80 million millennials that need a place to live. So you've got that, and then you've got land, labor, materials, and regulatory costs going up. Guys, I'm telling you, if you are thinking about buying a home, this is it probably isn't going to get any better for you, okay? If you wait, think about it. If you waited 1 year, it's going to cost you 8% more than what it did last year to buy that same home. The only thing that you would have got a better deal on is the financing costs. They've come down a little bit. But you can only, I mean, if financing goes down in the future, you can refinance. But if you don't get in, right, if you don't buy that house, what happens if home prices go up another 8% next year and another 6 to 8% the year after that? And it could completely happen. Okay, so I know I've spent a little time on this, but I just wanted you to understand, and I wanted you to be able to think about the major input costs to real estate and the fact that they're probably not going to go backwards, all right, because it just doesn't look like there's going to be a major housing correction, at least in the Grand Rapids area. Now, parts of the coastal area, you look at New York, you look at California, $5, $10, $20 million homes. Yeah, they've overbuilt those, and who can afford, there's only a small percentage of the population on the planet that can afford a $20 million home. So if you watch some of these real estate shows, sure, you might see, these types of properties coming down by millions, but that doesn't really mean anything to the Grand Rapids area, where the average house is, still much cheaper than what an average home costs across the balance of the nation. Okay, so the homes in Grand Rapids are still, even at $260,000 to $70,000, the average home in Grand Rapids is still much less expensive than the average home across the United States. So this is still a very inexpensive, on a relative basis, very inexpensive place to live compared to most other areas of the United States. Next, let's take a look at the average months of inventory in Kent County. And guys, we're hitting new lows here, okay? So I kind of alluded to that in some of the other slides, but look at this. For 2020, right now, we have an average of 1.3 months of inventory. Now, what that means is that if no new homes came to market, we would be completely sold out of homes in the Kent County area in 1.3 months. That's about 40 days. So in 40 days, if no new homes came to market, we would be completely sold out of inventory based on our current sell rate. And as we can see here, if we go down the chart, 2019, 18, 17, all the way down, you can see over the last 8 years, this is the lowest inventory that we've seen, okay? So guys, inventory really matters. So we've got think about the economics of this, right? Economics, basic economics of supply and demand. If the demand is there, and it is, okay, and matter of fact, even just this morning, I was on a real estate call for the office, and we were talking about this. And what we're seeing is it's not uncommon for, if a home is properly priced, it's not uncommon for there to be 15, 20, 30 offers on a home. Okay, so it is tough out there for buyers, and a lot of times you're going to have to pay over the listing price. But it just shows you that there's very little inventory. And again, it comes back to that basic economics of supply and demand. If there's a lot of demand for something and there's very little supply of it, the price is going to continue to go up. So what this also means is that if you are a seller, if you're looking to sell your property, please give me a call. My phone number will come up here at the end, and it was at the beginning of the presentation as well. But please give me a call, and there's never been a better time, guys, to be a seller in the Grand Rapids area. There's a lot of demand for houses. If you are thinking about moving, upgrading, relocating, you're relocating to another area for a job, you want to move to Florida or Arizona to be in a warmer climate, guys, this is a fantastic time to get that home listed. It's probably, as long as we properly price it, we have to be reasonable, right? But as long as we properly price that home, it's going to sell in a relatively short period of time. Right now, we know that most homes are selling in about 3 weeks if they're properly priced. So why does inventory matter? Well, as we can see here, if you have between 1 and 2 months of inventory, you probably are going to experience double-digit price appreciation on homes. And that is exactly what we have seen for many years here in the Grand Rapids area. If you're running between 3 and 4 months of inventory, you would generally experience single-digit price appreciation. If the inventory built to where you had between 5 and 6 months of inventory, this is more of a normal, balanced, or neutral market where you might experience some price appreciation, but it would more than likely be in the low single digits. And if you're under 5 to 6 months of inventory, this is considered a seller's market. And that's exactly what we have seen for many years here in Grand Rapids. If you're over 6 months of inventory, this is considered a buyer's market. And if your inventory built to between 7 and 8 months, that's when you would most likely experience single-digit price depreciation. And then if the inventory built to 9 months plus, that's when you would likely see double-digit price depreciation. So 7 to 8 months of inventory, single-digit price depreciation, 9 months plus, that's when we start to get into double-digit price depreciation. If you would like to learn even more about the likelihood of home prices rising in the future, I would highly suggest you watch my information-packed Will Home Prices Continue to Rise video, which is out on my YouTube channel. I will also put a link to that video in the description box below this video. So what are the next steps? Watch my Will Home Prices Continue to Rise video, watch my other YouTube videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel for ongoing real estate education. Please give me a thumbs up on this video and other videos that you like. Leave a comment on my videos and share my videos on my YouTube channel with your friends, family, and colleagues. Also, please feel free to connect with me via social media and call me at 616-258-4782 if you are looking to buy or sell a home in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area. Thank you so much for being on this video with me. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.